Hello everyone, my name is TFields, and today I am going to discuss with you the responsibilities of citizens during the time of disaster. When a disaster strikes, it is important for citizens to know their roles and responsibilities during all phases of a disaster. Planning and preparation before the disaster strikes, knowing what to do during the disaster, and lastly, knowing how to act and react after the disaster has occurred. Before the disaster, one of the most critical elements of disaster management for citizens is planning and preparedness. The first part of preparation for citizens should include knowing what the potential hazards are that could impact your community, such as hurricanes, winter storms, tornadoes, floods, earthquakes, mudslides, etc. You can find out this information by contacting the local emergency management office. Knowing these hazards are an important factor when choosing a home or area to reside in, and avoid choosing a home in a disaster-prone area. Protecting yourself against financial losses. When a disaster or hazard is impending, make sure your homeowner's or renter's insurance is up to date and provides coverage for all the potential hazards in your location. At a minimum, coverage should provide full replacement for damages or loss. When and where applicable, homeowners should have guaranteed replacement cost policies which will reimburse your property at today's prices. Coverage should always include all hazard-specific insurance to protect against multiple incidences in your geographic area. Take measures to protect yourself and home against potential hazards. Proactive and protective measures can range from do-it-yourself projects to professional installations to protect your home. Check with the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Division for your area for any documents that will help guide you to protect your family and your home from various hazards. These can easily be found on the FEMA website. Knowing the warning system in your area can provide the critical time needed to seek shelter and protect yourself from approaching hazardous conditions. Keeping up to date with local media and the National Weather Service can provide vital information about when and where a disaster may occur. Have a plan to evacuate or stay put. Even if you plan on riding out the disaster at your residence, you should always have an evacuation plan in place in the event you should have to leave. Check with local shelters that can provide assistance with those with pets, elderly, or the disabled. It is always a good rule of thumb to have more than one evacuation shelter in your plan in the event that you cannot get to the first one. Conduct and rehearse preparedness activities with your family and neighbors. Such practices can include fire drills, making sure everyone in the house knows where the safe location the house is if a hazard should occur, and choosing a specific location outside of the home in which everyone knows where to go in the event you should get separated. Oftentimes when a disaster strikes, it may take hours or even days for emergency responders to get to you depending on the conditions. It is crucial to have a 72-hour supply kit ready to go at all times. Your emergency supply kit should include enough food and water for each person for 3 days, a flashlight and batteries, a weather radio to stay in contact, a first aid kit including any medications needed, pet food and supplies, and any important documents that you may need. Your emergency kit should be in a location known to everyone and that it's easy to access. During the disaster, one of the most important things you need to remember is to stay cool, calm, and collected. Make sure your family and loved ones are safe and out of harm's way. Should you need to, enact your emergency preparedness plan, and if you should need to evacuate, follow your planned evacuation route when it is safe to do so, otherwise stay put until the hazard has passed. Remember to follow any communication from emergency managers and first responders as to when the hazard has passed and it is safe to move about freely and begin the recovery process. After the disaster. Immediately following a disaster, make sure everyone is safe and sound and alert first responders and medical personnel if needed. Continue to follow communication from emergency managers and first responders regarding conditions and other hazards that may be looming. Pay close attention to such things as road closings and curfews before heading out. In the event of damage to your property or dwelling, locate the emergency shutoff for the electricity and water to avoid any further dangers. Assess any damages to your property and contact the insurance company to prepare to file a claim. If you are in need of further assistance, contact local, state, or federal agencies to request disaster assistance. When possible, check on those around you and help out any fellow neighbors that may be in need. And lastly, become a volunteer in your community to assist and help in the recovery efforts. In closing, the most critical step of disaster management is planning and preparation. As disaster survivor Petra Nemkova states, we cannot stop natural disasters, but we can arm ourselves with knowledge. So many lives wouldn't have to be lost if there was enough disaster preparedness. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you learned a little bit about the roles and responsibilities of citizens during the time of disaster.